going on, Islander fans? Welcome to another fun edition here, another fun episode here on Isles Talk. My name is Paul Kreischer. I am your host for this evening, and glad you can join me. Unfortunately, um, Joe and Gary could not make it to the show. What up, boys and girls? Listen, Gary's on long-term injured reserve for a little while. He might be on the um, chat room every once in a while. And Joe has some family stuff going on. And it was all last minute. So I can't make fun of him. Normally I would make fun of Joe, but I can't do it tonight. Um, yeah, no, I do love those guys. But listen, we're going to change up the show just a little bit. We're going to go over uh, your thoughts on the trade deadline. We're also going to go into um, what the Islanders may need to get into the playoffs. And then we're going to have a discussion. It's going to be you and I tonight. Um, long-term injured reserve, and no one's going to be wrong. Everyone's opinion's going to be in here. But you know, when should a player return to the playoffs after missing most of the regular season? And I want to get your thoughts on it. Just an open-ended discussion. And after that, we're going to take a look real quick over the next 17 games for the Islanders, and we're going to go, what I would like to see them do, what you guys want, what you're going to get out of the Islanders, and we'll talk about playoffs uh, from there. So, listen, real quick, trade deadline. We're going to go short version here since you're stuck with me, unfortunately. Absolutely. Yeah, we'll get into that in a minute. So, all right, real quick, trade deadline. Let's just make this real easy. Florida did a really good job. Carolina did a really good job. I don't mind third teams paying, a portion of the cap hit. Those two teams keep everything in line. When the dust has now settled, you know, you guys have your teams. If you have Florida to win it, if you have Carolina to take it, if you still have the Rangers to take it, this is where you can actually start having conversations about the Stanley Cup. Okay. Those are your, go big or go home moments there. That's what the trade deadline brings you. So, you know, who are the teams to beat? It's still Florida. It's Carolina. I think Boston is going to be better than I think what most people may think. I think they're just riding this regular season wave. Um, the Rangers, they've brought in players to fit the system. Um, but again, if you're an Islanders fan, I'm not afraid. I'm not scared of the Rangers at all. Um, Yeah, and again, yeah, I'm gonna agree with Matthew here. I was fine with standing pat. I said this on the show a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about the Islanders prospects. The only thing I could see Lou trading for, or should be trading for, using that first round draft pick was a top six forward. Getting a top six forward or a top four defenseman, and the Islanders don't need a top four defenseman. So for me, the value of that draft pick went up in terms of the Islanders organization because at this point that's the only thing the Islanders really need out of a first round draft pick. If you're going to trade that pick, get yourself a top six forward. And right now, the way things are going, Lou is okay to stand pat here. I kind of agree with that. I don't think there was any kind of value that Lou was going to find with that first round draft pick, but that first round draft pick had more value because the Islanders have been doing so well. So no, it's good. It was a good move, and as far as I'm concerned now, even as an Islanders fan, I want to take a couple of steps back, and I really want to see how the organization as a whole play for the rest of the season. But we're going to take care of the Islanders towards the end of this show and moving forward. Um, Out west, um, listen, the Stars, the Avalanche. I can't wait for that first round series. I thought the Avalanche did a great job. We talked about them last week. Vegas doing what they did. Um, I'm waiting for that matchup. Um, so again, long term injured reserves, other teams trading. to take up some of the other teams' cap space. That's the business side of things. Um, so with this trade deadline now finished, you guys have your winners who you think is going to win the cup. Um, and that this is the time to think, okay, who's really got a legitimate shot at winning the cup? Um, and when you look at West, you're thinking the Stars, you're thinking the Avalanche, you're looking at Vegas, and you're looking at the Oilers. I don't know if Vancouver can match. We'll see if Winnipeg can match. I would love for those teams to meet up at some point, but I think you know it's going to be one heck of a battle. One heck of a battle. For me out west, the playoffs are set. Um, these are your 8 teams in the playoffs: Vancouver, Winnipeg, Dallas, Colorado, the Oilers, LA, Vegas, and Nashville. I don't have any other teams making the playoffs. They're pretty much done. They are, for me, they're out of the playoffs. In all honesty, I think if the Kraken lose one more regular season game, they're done. But I give them that chance. The only way the Kraken can come back and make a legitimate shot is if they have an 8-game winning streak. I don't see that happening. But again, a little more time. But we'll give the Kraken for lasting as long as they did. But no, you got your 8 teams set in the West. Let's see where they finish, and we go from there. We'll take your playoff predictions a little bit later on in a couple of weeks. Moving on to the East now, and we'll be a little more Islander centric here. What's it going to take for that second wild card spot to clinch a playoff berth? And again, I've got my own numbers. I always play the percentages, and folks, I'm not going to lie. I don't think it's going to take 95 points to get into the playoffs. I don't. I'm looking at 90, 91 to get in right now. I'll go right now. If the Islanders go on a 3-game winning streak, or if they do something like 10-4-3, playoffs. That's 95 points. 95 points would definitely secure third place. Solid. Um, Tampa Bay right now. Tampa Bay, Detroit. Tampa Bay's on pace for 93 points. Detroit's on pace for 91. It's close. It's going to be close all the way through. Okay. But if those two teams dip below 90, a 90-point pace, then I'm going to be a little nervous with Tampa Bay and Detroit. The Islanders, if they dip below 89, I would be nervous. They're on pace for 92 right now. The Capitals. The Capitals are on pace for 90. I think if they dip to 89 or 87, I think the Capitals are in trouble. It's really about the regulation losses, boys and girls. It really is. Um, in all honesty, with the Devils, Sabres, and Pens, they're all on pace for 83 points. Any kind of a 2-game winning streak by any of those above teams, and all those teams are out. Like literally, those 3 teams are on the verge of being eliminated. So the Devils, Penguins, and Sabres probably gone over the weekend. Over the weekend, they'll be gone. I already had the Sabres out. Um, but if they can make it, something entertaining towards the end of the season, go for it. That one I had 213 was always the magic number for me, and they're not going to get that. Yeah, that's part of the team defensive structure there. I had 213, but 213 gave you an 90% chance, 95% chance to get into the playoffs. If they scored over 240 goals, you're looking at 85% getting into the playoffs. Yeah, it's a complete madness with all those stats. We'll get that. We'll get to that at the end of the season. But Philadelphia, folks, I got to tell you, I got to give them credit, and you got to give them credit. They're on pace for 94 points. I don't want to say they're on a downtrend, but I'll tell you right now, if they get below 92 points, I think you can see them slide a little bit. So if you're an Islanders fan, you're looking for a quick 3-game winning streak um, anywhere, anytime soon. Can they afford to do a complete 3-game losing streak? They can. They could lose the next 2 games and they're still in it. I know everyone else will be pulling out their hair, drinking whatever they want to drink, but the Islanders are still in that good cushion, believe it or not. Um, so, there's that. Isles get a 3-game winning streak, they're probably in. Philadelphia, the Capitals, Tampa Bay, Detroit, I think those 4 teams are gonna fight it out for those final 2 wild card spots. I think the Islanders can still finish in 3rd. I think they will. I think their system is working now. Um, they do need to fix up a few things, and we can talk about that real quick. But I think those 4 teams, I think they're going to battle out for the last 2 wild card spots, and I think that's going to come down to game 77, 78, 79. I really do. Um, so just looking at the trends, I think the Islanders are going to be good, at least for 3rd place. So I don't want a first round matchup with either Florida or the Hurricanes. Well, if you want the 2nd wild card spot, you're going to get the Panthers. Um, but it could be the Canes. And granted, Thomas, I don't want the Hurricanes right now. Both the Rangers and the Hurricanes are they're climbing upward here. Okay, but they should because they were buyers. Okay, even the Rangers did help themselves out. Okay, they brought in 2 players or so they can actually work in their system. Yeah, I want the Rangers as a fan. I want the Rangers no matter what. Somewhere in these playoffs, I want it. New York desperately needs it. Can't even the NHL needs it. Okay, we got to play the Rangers at some point. It has to happen. Um, right now, games 64 and 65. No, I don't want to play the Rangers right now. No, no. Let the Rangers and Carolina move up, do all their winning now. Let them do all their winning now, and then we'll go from there. Yeah, I want the Isles Rangers. I'm dying for an Isles Rangers matchup. It has to happen. We're now talking 20 years ago. 20 years ago. And both teams have stunk within that time as well. Okay, remember, the Rangers didn't make the playoffs for 7 straight years either. So we're due. We're due. I'm tired of being, you know, nice with Ranger fans every once in a while. I got to find a reason to hate them. More reason to hate them, especially my family members, but that's another story. Um, so those are the standings right now. The Islanders are in it. Everybody's in it. Um, honestly, a 3-game winning streak that could secure a spot. Again, if they go 10-4-3, again, they're in. That's 95 points. So can they still do it? Absolutely. I think with the team that they have, the structures that they have, I think they can do that. So listen, we'll jump back to the Islanders a little later on. Um, not Carolina, Vegas. Vegas pulled some phenomenal moves this trade deadline. Um, you know, but they couldn't do that without some of their players going on long-term injured reserve. So this is an open discussion. There's no right or wrong answer, and we're going to go off with this first. Is it within the rules right now? Yes. Are they allowed to do this? Yes. Um, this is more of a what would you like to see in the next collective bargaining agreement that's going to be talked about in 2 years. So everything is legal right now. Everything is allowed. That's fine. But there have been some teams who have shown some concerns about what Vegas has been doing. So when I first found out that Mark Stone was on long-term injured reserve, I was like, obviously, convenient. So, for me, I didn't know his injuries. Turns out he may not be around for game one. He may not be around for game two. Who knows? It's legit. But again, it's Vegas. So they shouldn't be able to. If they can't return before the final game of the regular season, hate that loophole. Not a loophole, though. Not a loophole. They're playing within the rules. So let me just fix that real quick. So, yeah, before we continue with that, um, I wanted to describe for the younger fans what LTIR really is, um, to give people a better understanding what other teams are doing. Um, there's value in everything: players' contracts, draft picks, so on and so forth. When you have a draft pick, that's like savings in a bank account. Okay. You've got a lot of draft picks, you've got a lot of, well, we'll call it money in a savings account. There's value in there. Okay. Chicago is loaded with draft picks. They've got a lot of value in their system right now. Okay. They could spend quite a few draft picks on a couple of players, trading for players to increase the team's overall value. Okay. That's what a draft pick does. When you're putting a player on long term injured reserve, you're basically using a credit card. Yeah, I like that, Brian. Let's go with that. Draft rich. Draft rich. I like that. We'll go along with that. This is completely improv, by the way. I like that. Draft rich. But there's value there. When you're putting a player on LTIR, you're using a credit card. You're charging. You're adding extra to your account. It gives you a chance to expand your account so that way you can buy a few more assets to get yourself through, in this case, this season. So, you take a look at the Toronto Maple Leafs. They've had to use a couple of credit cards or players on long term injured reserve to get them through this season. They're up to roughly $97 million in cap, getting them through the season, but they're charging their way through. And what eventually happens, and especially in Vegas's case, the more credit you use, the less savings you have. Okay, and I don't know if you guys have gone on Cap Friendly or Puckpedia. Vegas is almost out of assets. They're almost out of draft picks. They're no longer draft rich. They don't have a lot of leverage. So at some point, charging your credit card all the time is going to catch up with them. And it's the same thing with Toronto. Toronto did some mismanagement. They overcharged and they haven't really been able to go anywhere. So there's positives and negatives to using LTIR. Now, in defense of the LTIR, 4 out of the 5 last cup winners have all used LTIR. The only team not to do it were the Colorado Avalanche. They were roughly 84 million, if I'm not mistaken. And Nazem Kadri ended up costing Calgary $7 million. So the Colorado Avalanche got themselves $91 million worth in a playoff run for $84 million. That's how you do it. That's why I'm very intrigued to see what Florida is going to do. I'm intrigued to see what Carolina is going to do because these teams are still under the cap. Edmonton's another team. I'm going to be very interested to see what Edmonton does as well. That's another first round matchup. And even Vancouver. Vancouver's done very well. They're under the cap. You should be able to ice a team under the cap. You should. Some teams can't. And again, this is an open discussion, guys. There's no right or wrong answer here. So come 2 years from now, after the 25-26 season, um, the salary cap should be around 95 million. Would you like to see the player's long-term injured reserve count against the cap, but you still have an open roster spot when they go down. You could do that. Oh, you want a cap for the playoffs as well. That's another one. Okay, let's talk about that. Should there be a cap for the playoffs? That's interesting. And that's going to be a question now. Let's say in 2 years' time, you're using 95 million as a cap. Let's see where that is. You only have 90 million total in cap used, but you've got 5 million to play with. You can bring up as many players as you want. And you could probably do it the way they're doing it right now with this season. You can bring up as many people as you want as long as you stay under the cap. You know what I mean? So you could do that. So, I was thinking about something like this. If the cap was below 95 million, let's say the cap only went to 92 and stayed there. And the players really wanted, or the owners really wanted, the LTIR to, you can add to that cap. Um, I was thinking about it like this. What if, let's say you were the home team and you had a player who couldn't play to game 82, but he was ready to go in the first round of the playoffs. If you were the home team, I wouldn't have that player come in until game 5. If you were the home team, if you had games 1 and 2 at home, that one player coming off of LTIR, I wouldn't have him come in until game 5. You play the 4-game series without that player, and then 5, 6, and 7, you can bring that player back if he was medically cleared. If it was an away team, you could bring him back by game 3. Something to add a little bit to the drama. So let's say, for example, let's have fun with this. Let's say it's the Oilers and the Kings. Oh, imagine that. The Oilers in Vegas. Oh wait, who's the 4 seed here? Number 1. They would have the Jets. All right, so let's have fun with this. Let's say it's the Winnipeg Jets and the Vegas Golden Knights. If you're the Jets, I would not have Stone come back until game 3. Give the first 2 games at home. If the Jets go up 2-0, wonderful. Stone comes back. He's got 5 games to prove himself. Something like that. I don't know. You're the home team. You already got that advantage. That one player coming off of LTIR doesn't come back until game 5. That would be interesting to me. Keep the same system but change the playoffs. Must be cap compliant in the playoffs with the exception of non-roster black aces. Wonderful. Sure. Keep the cap during the playoffs. I'm all right with that. And again, if we take a look at the numbers, boys and girls, you'll see Vegas and Tampa Bay and even Colorado, it's anywhere between 91 and 97 million. So if you want to cut it down the middle, you know, you're looking at 95, 94. You're going to have to, the NHL is going to have to come up with the Players Association. What's the hard cap? Is there going to be a hard cap? You know, is there going to be a hard cap? Because some of these, I don't want to say smaller market teams. Some of these smaller market teams are just not going to be able to keep up. I don't mind. In all honesty, I don't mind the idea of you know expanding, or not having a cap during the playoffs, but during the regular season, it gives some of these smaller market teams a chance at something here. Because these smaller markets definitely need to make the playoffs at something here. They got to do something. So, they got to figure out a way to incorporate these smaller teams as well. But yeah, it's going to cost these teams 95 million to win a cup these days. It's a growing trend. I'll go 90 to 95. Let's have some fun with that. 90 to 95. Eliminate waiver claims for teams that are not using LTIR to be cap compliant at the trade deadline. Okay, I like that. Okay, sure. So let me ask you guys. Let's back up here a couple of steps. You throw me out a number. What number should the NHL cap space be? Is it a hard? Is it a soft? When I mean by soft, are they allowed to go over that cap for the playoffs? No cap for the playoffs or whatnot. Give me your number right now. What do you think the NHL should go? Because remember, the higher the cap, the less competition you're going to have. If you know what I mean. You've got $97 million, $90 million to like get a cup. You've only got a couple of teams doing that. Give me a number that you guys think would be fair for every team on a hard cap. Should it stay 84? Should it be 87? Should it be 92? 92 million. It's definitely going to force some of these other NHL teams to update their arena situation. No doubt. No doubt. I love that enthusiasm. you know, and again, it's just an open-ended question. What would be a good number for you guys? For me, I'd go 92. Maybe no more than 92. No more than 92, but in all honesty, I would have long-term injured reserve probably included with that cap space, but you allow that player, a roster spot to come in. So there's got to be some kind of wiggle room that would be allowed. And again, also got to take a look. There's a reason why everyone's doing long-term contracts, and it's not just the Islanders doing it. Every team is doing it, especially with LTIR. Okay, if you get an older player, doesn't matter, 30, 31, 32, or even a younger player at 24, 25. If you sign them to a long-term deal, long-term meaning anything more than 4 or 5, it doesn't necessarily matter what that player is doing throughout that entire contract. If that player gets injured and can't play, that's now an insurance policy. That's exactly what that comes in. It's no longer about the player, it's about the contract. It's a term policy here. You can trade that asset that becomes an asset to any other team who needs to get to the cap floor, who needs to trade it to Toronto in order for Toronto to pay the bills. You know what I mean? So there's a reason why a lot of these players are getting long-term deals. They like the security of it, but if something happens to them, it turns into an asset for the owners. Not that we want the players to get injured, but you know, it now helps them because now that cap gets maneuverable, and now it's just cap money. It's just a contract. You know what I mean? So you're still going to see a lot of long-term deals to everyone. You're going to get it to younger players who haven't really proven themselves yet, but you're also going to get it to the older players. They're probably counting on the older players to get injured quicker. Let's face it. Put them on LTIR, and there's your credit card, slapping it down. You get to add on to your quote unquote savings here to make a run. That's why they do that. At what point do you guys think, Thomas said 90. I like that. Yeah. At what point does the NHL say, okay, this is enough? Should they? Let's go with that. Should they? Look, let's face it. NHL playoffs, it's still the best playoffs. It's still the best playoffs. It beats baseball, it beats football. Nah, football to a degree. But, it beats out baseball. Sorry. Playoffs, hockey playoffs are still the best playoffs. Yeah, state of province tax adjusted cap. Yeah, I think they've tried that, Matt. I don't think it works. That's very, very difficult to do. Yeah, it's gonna go up. Yeah, it's gonna go up to 87 next season, and I think it's supposed to go up to 92, Brian. And then that's gonna be the question. After that collective bargaining agreement, how much more should they go? And remember, whether people like it or not, you're looking at NHL expansion. You're looking at 34 teams, probably 36 teams. 36 teams at some point here in the NHL. And when Gary Bettman is not the NHL commissioner, you're probably going to see a play in for the playoffs. Probably. Look who decided to show up. About time. So, it's just a question. There's no real answer here, but it's something that, even fans have to think about. How much more money, and remember, if the players' salaries are going to go up, so are ticket prices. Okay. So, even from a fan's perspective here, I don't think you want the salary cap going up that much further because then it's going to get really expensive for you guys and everybody else. So, a lot of you have said so far, um, put a cap in the playoffs. I kind of like that idea. The question is what amount. So, in all honesty, some of these players are going to be legit out for a little while. Remarkably, Thomas Hurdle's going to be back for the playoffs. Is he going to be back for Game 82? Probably not. Well, the NHL said thanks for coming. They did. Thanks for coming. We're going to keep you in consideration, but not yet. He's right. You know, and again, for those of you just joining us, welcome. We're not talking about changing the LTIR rule now. This is like 2 years from now, when the salary cap is probably going to be around 92, 95 million. Um, brother. And again, this is for future considerations. Um, we know it's within the rules right now. I don't mind it. But again, at some point, you know, Vegas has been doing a lot of credit card spending here with these LTIR players. At some point, they're going to have to they're going to have to pay up at some point. So, any other questions on the long-term injured reserve? Any other thoughts? Um, you've got Utah in there. You've got Atlanta. I'm pretty sure Houston's going to get in there at some point. Um, I think there was another team in the Midwest. I don't know if Ohio was going to get another one. Kansas City could have been another one. Who knows? But again, you know, nope. Sorry. Nope. You know that. Now you're just trying to aggravate me. Don't do that. Salt Lake City, I think, would be the next one. I really don't think, um, Quebec's going to be in it. Salt Lake City, I think, is the next one. In all honesty, guys, I do. But you're going to see the NHL go up to 36 teams at some point. Where do you cut the line? Where do you cut the line in terms of the cap money? Of course, players probably want 100 million, but again, you have to make all 36 teams you got to make You got to make the fans happy that they don't want to spend a lot of money, any more money, but at the same time, you got to keep the NHL competitive. I've said this before. You're at 84, 87 million, whatever we're at this point. You can eliminate 5 teams by game 30. You're going to raise the cap even more. How quickly are these other teams going to get eliminated? When's the quality going to finally be there? If the salary cap were to go down, let's have fun with this. Salary cap were to go down go back to 82 million or 80 million. Now you're looking at all teams getting better. I think instead of eliminating 5 teams by like game 35 or game 40, you're only eliminating maybe 3. I know this, Randy. I know this. And you're right. If it was more about quality boys and girls, the NHL probably would only be about 25 teams, 26 at this point, maybe. They're getting better, but they got to do better than that. Houston may get one, you know. So there you have it. So those are the thoughts on the long-term injured reserve. Um, how are these teams surviving at this point? Real estate, real estate, real estate. It's what's surrounding in that area around those arenas. Why do you think um, Malkin is doing what he's doing around UBS Arena? Why do you think Nashville does so well? It's the surrounding areas. Why does Ottawa need to go to downtown Ottawa? The Senators. That's where their fan base is. Location, location, location. So there you have it. Yeah, for me, if if things don't change, I would want those players to come back at a later time. If they can't play game 82, if they can't play game 82, again, I think if you're the home team, they shouldn't come back until game 5. If you're the away team, you can come back at game 3. Because if you're the away team, that means you're the lower seed anyway. You give the higher seed a chance to go up 2-0. And, if you're the home team, you got to battle it out. Really make it difficult. But all right, so let's tackle this. So that's it on the LTIR. Let's get into a little more water cooler talk with Isles specifics here. A lot of season ticket holders are mad because they lost garage parking because of the retail village. Right. Many have said they are not renewing. I don't know if that is all bluster or not. Um, I have heard that the retail village is going to probably get priority. Say for a few season ticket holders who have been there for decades, those really long-term season ticket holders are going to be there. It's very simple, folks. That retail village that's going up in there, people are going to be spending more money in the retail village than season ticket holders will that day at an Islander game. Bottom line, that's it per day. People who are going to spend the money in that retail village are going to spend more money that day than season ticket holders probably will, and I think they've already calculated that. That's all it is, folks. Money. If you love the Islanders, you'll walk to see the Islanders. They're yeah. If they show up at the retail village, excellent point. They probably will. Why do you think there's an All Star game at 2026? Hey, the Belmont Racetrack is going to get done. That retail village is going to get done. It's all publicity right there. That's all it is. You'd be surprised. I think a lot of people are going to be showing up to that. You're going to get a lot of tourism over there. You're going to get a lot of tourism. There's no doubt. Yeah. Yeah. It's all about real estate. Absolutely. Absolutely. Look, for those of you, um, I compare that retail village to something like out of Woodbury Common. And for those of you in New York, basically take the throughway up 45 minutes from New York City, give or take. And it's a huge, huge outlet, retail outlet. It's busy all season long. Um, it's got tourist attractions. It's got everything there. Um, Honestly, if the Islanders were to build an arena right there, it would sell. A minor league team there, not UBS Arena. But if they were to have if they were to have the Bridgeport Islanders move to the Hudson Valley, it's sell out, no doubt. It's that big up there, and they again they would have something like a retail village right next door. It would work. So for now, depending on what shops are in there, I don't know what shops are going in. That'll be the question. Um, I have a feeling it's going to work. Oops, let's get rid of this because we're no longer talking about long term injured reserve. This is water cooler talk. Yeah, I've never been there yet, Matt. The location behind the garage is a terrible location. Yeah, I haven't been there yet. I plan on it at some point. I'll take your word for it. Easier to take the Long Island Railroad. Don't have to deal with traffic. Yeah, I have to deal with the traffic when I get there. So, all right. So listen, we're already 42 minutes in. I'm kind of happy that the Islanders did not use their first round pick. We'll see what they can do with their first and second round pick in this year's draft. But before that, it's prepping for the playoffs. And for me, at this point, I would like to see Samuel Bolduc get in a game or two or three. I would like to see Oliver Wahlstrom get into a game or two or three. If I could see Robert Bortuzzo get in for 2 games, let some of these players shake off some rust. At some point, I would like to see Ruslan Ishakov come up and at least practice with this team. He's earned that for the most part. Okay, I'm not sure if I want him in a game, but even at season's end, I would like to see Ishakov come in, and at least practice with the team, see what he can do, get the coach's ideas and whatnot. Um, I said this at the beginning of the show. Uh, I'm going to take a big step back. Okay, the Islanders didn't do anything. I want to see how the Islanders as an organization tackle the playoffs. If we get swept by Carolina, we've got issues. Do I think they'll get swept by Carolina? No. Um, if we get the first wild card spot and we go up against the Rangers, do we go 7 games? Yeah, I want that. But I'd love to see the Islanders beat the Rangers. Absolutely. If the Rangers win 4 games to 1, there's an issue. You know, this is going to be a really good look at the organization as a whole to see where everybody's at. Um, if the Islanders lose in a 7 game series to the Rangers, I think we'll all know what needs to be done, if anything. If we go beyond a round, are we riding with house money? I think that's what we're going to see. This is house money. As Brian said before, draft rich. That's what the Islanders have done the last 5 years. They've spent on those draft picks, but they've gotten the players back with a solid return. Now we're going to see how much in the dividend department the Islanders are going to get back from that. I don't see a repeat of 30 years ago. No, I agree, Matt. This is not 30 years ago. This is not 1994. It's not. I'm not afraid of the Rangers, and For right now, let the Rangers and Carolina do as much winning as they want right now. It's the regular season. They're not going anywhere. Um, do I think Carolina can catch up to the Rangers? Uh, maybe. Losing to the Rangers did not help. That didn't help. Could they still catch up? Maybe. Would I still love a Rangers Isles matchup in the first round? Absolutely. As a 2 and 3 seed, yes. Because then I'm hoping Carolina has to play someone in the Atlantic first. I don't trust Tampa Bay at all. I don't trust Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay has too many savvy veterans for me to trust. If they come out swinging, you still got to be Vasilevsky. Sorry. Anthony Duclair's been there, done that. Um, so for me, play some of those players who haven't played in a while. You know, give some players a rest if they need it. Um, win 3 games in a row first. Get into the playoffs first. After that, get some of these players who need to get prepped for a playoff run. Get them prepped up. Yeah, yeah, Brian. And then let's call it. Let's go 7 games, 7 game series with the Rangers. That's 10 total games. I would be ecstatic with that. The Islanders need it. The Rangers need it. The NHL needs it. New York needs it. Okay, us as fans, we need it. I need this rivalry to be renewed. In all honesty, I don't think we've been a rivalry in a very long time. We need this. We need this rekindled. Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. What do you mean Claire hates it? Claire what? Hates the Rangers or hates the rivalry? I love it when you guys like type in some short sentences here. You're expecting me to know everything. Come on. Give me a sentence I can actually read here. But you're right, Brian. That is a lot of points. What do you mean she hates it? How can you hate the Rangers Isles rivalry? Really off topic here. No, I don't see Crosby getting traded. I don't. No. Crosby has to understand that his team's just a little too old and they spent too much on the credit card on other players. It's just it's not working for Pittsburgh. Not going to. He's got to realize that now. Rangers, Islanders, enjoy these 3 games. Even as an NHL fan, enjoy these 3 games. I think 2 out of the next 3 are at the Madison Square Garden anyway. Um, I said this before. If Jonathan Quick becomes the old man that we were kind of hoping he would be this year, you never know. You never know. I gotta have a reason to really, really dislike the Rangers. Ranger fans are one thing, but the Rangers I have to have a reason for. You know, Pittsburgh, I'm not a fan of right now. They basically gave Gensel to Carolina. I'm not thrilled with Washington giving them Kuznetsov. That should tell you everything you need to know and how they feel about the Rangers and Islanders, where they're ready to help out Carolina beat us in these playoffs. That should tell you something. Do I see the Islanders passing Tampa? Well, it's not so much passing Tampa. I still feel the Islanders can get third, only because the Flyers' schedule is, I think, worse, or should I say, tougher than the Islanders. I think Philadelphia has a tougher schedule. I'm going to give Washington a little more credit here. Pitt, absolutely not. Washington's still in it. Could Washington squeeze into that last playoff spot and play Florida in the first round? Yeah, yeah, they could. Again, it's about the amount of regulation losses now, boys and girls. It's about the regulation losses. If the Isles go 10-4-3, 95 points. Solid. Most of those wins coming from the Rangers, we'll take it. So, any other questions, comments, concerns? Give me your thoughts. What do you want to see for the rest of the season? Do you want to see Gautier brought up? Do you want to see him playing more? Um, do you want to see Hudson Fashing playing more? Do you want to see Wallstrom, Duke, any of those players coming up playing anytime soon? Or give me your thoughts and feelings on the next remaining 17 games here while we have a little more time left. Because I've been talking for 51 straight minutes. Even I find myself annoying. Boy, you guys are really quiet. Wow. Because if not, we can end this now. I don't mind a little extra time off. Spot Martin some games, especially 417 against Pittsburgh. Sure, sure. And that's the other thing too. Um, Brian brought up a legitimate point here, and I don't think he realized he did it. Look, the identity line. This could be it for the identity line, boys and girls. You know, I hate to say it, but Father Time is catching up for some of these players. Enjoy the moments that you have with the identity line, just in case this is it. This is their last hurrah. Granted, fourth line is done. I get that. However, a game or two before the season is over, yes, okay. And maybe at some point during the playoffs, you have that identity line. Start the game off with that line at first. They've earned that right. They've earned that right. Slot in other players to showcase. Maybe showcase for what though? I'm interested in that. Do you want to trade them off later on? Ishakov's not going. Ishakov has always had trade value. I've told you guys that. Other teams have looked into Ishakov for the last year and a half. So they know what they're getting out of him at this point. Kyle McLean, I agree. Kyle McLean and a very close second is Riley. McLean right now, he's filling in the role I was hoping he was going to fill in. For Casey Zizekas on that fourth line. Um, I think the playoffs for him is going to be a really, really good test because he's not playoff tested. Yeah. Yeah, to get a good look for the future. Yeah. Listen, I think Matt Barzell's going to get his wish. I don't think he's going to need game 82 to clinch a playoff spot. Um, the Islanders are at game 64 right now. I'm going to say game 71, 72. It's probably a lock. As long as nothing really, as long as the system continues to work and the Islanders play their system, they should be a lock at least 10 games before the season is over. It really depends on how many losses Philly has. And some of those other teams, because I'm looking at some of those other teams, Tampa, Detroit, Washington, they're all like a 2-game losing streak away, and all the Islanders have to do is just play their game, and they're in. So Matt Barzell's going to get his wish. So I don't mind if some of these kids to get a look. That's fine. I would love some of these kids to shake some rust off. Some of them just haven't played because the Islanders have been doing so well. Yeah, no one's passing the Panthers. And again, I like what the Panthers have done this season. But I gotta, when was the last time we had a President's Trophy winner win the Stanley Cup? Was it the 2013 Chicago Blackhawks? I think that was it. 11 years ago? Wild card two. Tampa? Maybe. Again, I don't trust Tampa. That would be something if Tampa beat Florida in the first round. Oh, oh boy. Well, let's think about it. Let's have some fun with this real quick. How long is he out for? That's true. It's been a while. Been a while. Listen, let's have some fun here real quick. Boston and Toronto, they're going to hate each other. There's no doubt about that. Panthers and Tampa, that would be a phenomenal matchup. Rangers Isles, Canes against Detroit, maybe. Canes against Philly. I don't know. Those are some super matchups. I agree with that, Jim. Yeah, he's been horrible since Larkin's been out. Yeah, and that's the thing though. And that's what they're doing. That's where I'm going with the regular, the losses. If these teams keep losing the way they are, and the Islanders just keep doing what they're doing, the Islanders should be in the playoffs. This should not be an issue for them at all. Yeah, they did. Yeah, and listen, take Buffalo seriously. Take them seriously. Even though I don't have them in the playoffs, take them seriously. They want to play spoilers. They definitely want to play spoilers. There's no doubt. And their defense is solid. Yep, next Thursday. That's right. You know, you're going to be looking at a couple of playoff spots earned over the next 5 games. It's all right there. And like I said, the West is already over. The West is already over. The West is done as far as I'm concerned. They've got their 8 teams. Let's just see where the dominoes fall, and we'll see where everyone falls into place here. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And listen, we normally don't do shows after the trade deadline. Um, it's one of those moments where we all sit back, we watch the games, and then we come back later on. I'm gonna do a show next week. It's all water cooler talk. There's no guests. It's just completely you, me, maybe Joe. Gary will chirp in over here on the chat room, and we're just gonna get your thoughts. But the season for us usually is over around this time of year. We let you guys enjoy the games and whatnot because you guys know what's going on. There's not much to talk about here, but we'll come back next week, and we'll talk about these games. We'll see how the Islanders play. Um, I don't want to dissect too much because again, you guys know all this. You guys are smart enough. You guys have been around long enough, and you know, critiquing too far it's too much. Honestly, it's too much. It's you got to take everything together. Yeah, they're 0-7 of back to backs. All right, listen. Let me address that real quick. I don't want to nitpick every game, but I will say this now. That game against the Kings, in a back to back, that was back to back games for both of them. For me, that was a game 6 or game 7 moment for the Islanders. And once again, their power play did not come through. That was reminiscent of last year's playoff series with Carolina. The Islanders did everything right except for the power play. Some things still need to get fixed. Okay, I'm glad Jim brought that up. The Islanders have to find a way to score when they're in their most dire need. When they're under more duress, when they're under more stress, they have to find a way to score those goals. Forget about the refs. The Islanders had enough power play time where they should have racked up at least 1 or 2 goals. That's going to be one of my concerns heading into the playoffs. So I'm glad Jim brought that up. Those second back to back ones, those are like a game 6 or game 7 for me. And the Islanders have got to show up. It also kind of reminds me of I believe it was the second Eastern Conference run, but Philadelphia took the Islanders to 7 games, but they used up their entire tank in game 6, and and the Islanders took care of them in game 7. The Islanders had more stamina than the Philadelphia Flyers. That's what I saw out of LA beating out the Islanders. The Kings had more stamina. They found ways to win. So for me, the Islanders need to work on that. That's a mental thing as well. If they can get their power play going, especially for the playoff run, now we got something going here. Yeah, it was definitely during the bubble run. Yeah, it was during the bubble run. Philadelphia took the Islanders to game 7. Islanders took care of business in game 7. They should have done it in game 6, and then they had Tampa all over again. So for me, the Islanders played well against the Kings, but not scoring anything on that power play reminded me of that first round loss to Carolina last year. So the Islanders do need to work on that. So having said that, I want to thank you guys for coming on, and I want you guys to please follow us on X at Isles Talk. Please follow us on and like us on Facebook, and hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube. It's been doing wonders for the analytics. No, we didn't play bad. We didn't play bad, but it was a frustrating game. You score a power play goal or two, I'm a little more comfortable, but that's what didn't happen. But yeah, guys, please follow us on all the socials. It's been helping us out tremendously. And again, I want to thank that worldwide Islander group for allowing us to put our show in that Islander group. It's greatly appreciated. Our numbers have gone up, and we have gotten a lot of compliments since then. So thank you to Angie and everybody else who have been supporting us time in and time out. Yeah, LA's got a similar style. They are. They're a playoff team. So I'm not counting LA out. But the Islanders have got to find a way to win those games, no doubt, especially in the playoffs. So, all right, boys and girls, it's been fun. We'll be back next week. Gary will be back. We'll see if Joe comes back. If there's a topic you want to talk about, let us know, because it's the end of the season. We'll go from there. Hopefully, we'll talk about the Islanders being in the playoffs next week. All right, take care. Let's go, Islanders.